Hello and merry meet. Welcome, welcome. It is Thursday and it is Spiritual Panel Thursday. If you are new and you've never been here before, I think I've got the hiccups, sorry. Spiritual Panel is an open panel, so I do allow people to come up and discuss the topic. Tonight's topic is gratitude. So I was really inspired to talk about gratitude. Part of it was because I realized not everybody, like sometimes we just want that thank you. And I had a situation where I just wanted a thank you. And I was like, wow, a lot of people don't practice gratitude. And it's not to like, I was like, wow, have I thanked everybody for what they've done for me? When you start to realize it, like, have I thanked them and how can I be more grateful? And when we're grateful, we tend to actually find more peace in our life. And we like increase our happiness. So I'm just going to like share a story while we wait if anybody wants to jump on panel. I was going through a really dark time, went through a trauma. We'll just say trauma. You know what? Trauma is trauma. And doesn't, like, we don't have to grade them on a scale of 1 to 10. So, but I was going through a trauma and it was very hard. And I was going through the grief process. And while going through that, because when any trauma, you're going to go kind of through the grief process. And we talked about anger last week. And sorry. And chappy lips. I know you guys, I think I'm always putting my chapstick on. So, but I wasn't finding gratefulness in my life. And I was letting that anger fester. So again, we talked about anger last week in the panel last week. And if you missed it, you can always catch it on my YouTube and Patreon. And it was brought to my attention that maybe I could find more peace in my life if I practiced gratitude. And this was by one of my spiritual mentors that I had. So I was like, oh, I didn't think of that. And I literally I've got an empty jar here because I've been reorganizing herbs, which is fun. So, and stuff is sticking to it. All right, all good. But I took just a mason jar this size and Post-it notes. And on a Post-it note, my goal was every day to write something I was grateful for. So I would wake up, do my Reiki in the morning. And actually, wait, this was before I was a Reiki master. I would wake up every morning, do my morning ritual, and get ready. And then before I walked out the door, I would write down what I was grateful for. And I will say the first probably month or two, it was literally almost every morning I was grateful for my children. But I at least put it in there. And then if I was having a really bad day, I would open my jar, take out everything that I put in that I was grateful for, and I would read it. And I remember laughing because a lot of times it was like, I'm grateful for my children. And that became like my big thing, is that I was just grateful for my kids. But it's always good to be grateful for something. So as time went on, especially when I would go for my walks, or like one of my kids was in soccer and baseball, and I had a couple of them in theater and choir, and I was like, I'm grateful for music. I'm grateful. Sometimes it got down to like, I'm grateful my child was so talented and they sang this song and it was inspiring. And I started to find more things I was grateful for. So some mornings I was literally writing a ton of things that I was grateful for on Post-its. And the jar got full. And it got full pretty fast. Like as soon as you start to find that gratefulness, your jar gets really, really full. And then when I'd have like a day where it was really tough, or I was angry or I was upset, I'd open the jar and I'd start reading all the things I was grateful for. And it was like, wow, there's so much amazing stuff in my life. And you start to literally, you shift. So just taking one simple task of writing one thing a day that you're grateful for and putting it in a jar will shift your thinking. So I have the original jar and I have another jar. I don't do it every single solitary morning, so it's something I need to start doing again. But I've also noticed I'm grateful for so much. Even like my husband teases me because he's like, you'll say thank you for little things to me. Like, just little things like, oh, thank you for opening the new tube of toothpaste, like little things. But you do start to realize, like, we have so much to be grateful for in our lives. We have, like, the air we breathe, the food on our tables, our jobs that put food on our tables, having wonderful spiritual panels. Like, I'm grateful for the spiritual panel and the spiritual community on TikTok. And I'm thankful for my friend Azriel, because Azriel was like, you got to come on spiritual TikTok. And I was like, do I? And I'm really thankful for him for like helping me find this beautiful spiritual panel. So you start to find more things that you're grateful for, and it literally changes your life. It literally changes your life. And what is interesting is I've kind of noticed, like, I have, some really close friends, and I can tell when they're not finding things they're grateful for. And not that I'm going to be like, you got to find things you're grateful for, but I'm like, wow, I was like that. Like, I used to be like, everything's negative, 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 but what am I grateful for? And it's okay to vent and have some anger. Like we talked about that last week, because we do need to also understand that our feelings are 100% valid. But, it's like when we get upset, we can say, all right, I'm upset because whatever, vent about it. And then what am I grateful for with this? Now, you may not find a lesson from the situation. Sometimes we're not going to find that. We're not going to be able to go, oh, I know what lesson I'm supposed to learn. You may not find it right away, but when we get upset, we can at least go, okay, you know what? I'm grateful for what? So, okay, I've got an example. So, I was given new files at my job, and I was like, okay, new files. And I was like, oh my gosh, the person that had the files before me didn't do what they were supposed to do. And it's like a big mess. Like if you've ever, like if you come home and your kids have like decided they were going to make a cake and there's stuff all over, or like I've seen the videos where little kids get into flour and there's flour all over the house. Like that's like the worst, right? Like that's a big mistake. Will be funny later, but not at the time, especially when you're cleaning it up. So I get into one and it's a big mess, horrible situation. And I'm like, great, the person couldn't take care of this before the file was transferred to me. So I was a little upset. But then I realized it was given to me because I do such a good job that they knew I could fix a situation that was not good. And so I was grateful that I'm actually being recognized for my work. And as soon as I was able to go, oh, wait, you know what? They know that I can fix this situation where someone else couldn't fix the situation. So my talent, they've recognized. And so I'm grateful that I'm being recognized for the talents that I have. So we can take any situation and find the gratefulness. So like I just said, like the kids with flour, I'm sorry, those videos, like if you guys have seen them, they're like on every social media platform, right? How many kids get into things? And I think about the stuff my kids would get into. But, like a kid gets into flour is so, like at least a vacuum can suck it up. So it is kind of funny. Or like so we can think about that. Like, what are we grateful for? Well, All right, the mess maybe not have been so fun, but it was pretty funny afterwards. So always important to think of that and to find what we can be grateful for in our lives. So today's theme is gratitude. I've heard gratitude is the attitude, and I actually kind of like that. I don't know who coined it. I don't know if it was a specific person who coined it, or if it just has spread, but it is a good attitude to have, is one of gratitude. And when we have that attitude, it does change our lives. It really does. So I try to like catch myself, and this is just for me, like when I get upset, like, and go, wait, all right, how can I be grateful in this situation? Because literally gratitude just, it makes like this huge shift. Like I said, it takes you to it opens your eyes to other things. It really, truly does. So I want to spread the joy that you can have with gratitude. So I want to thank everybody first, because I see I've got a bunch of hearts already today. So thank you so much. Again, tonight is Spiritual Panel on Gratitude. Please feel free. It is an open panel. This is a spiritual safe place. And with a spiritual safe place, again, no bullying or calling of names. It's okay if we joke around every once in a while, if we laugh and if we sing, because we do sing sometimes on panel. But it is a spiritual safe place. So if you do feel like coming up and sharing a story of where gratitude changed your life, or if you want to answer some of the questions, I have some really great questions that we can actually go over today. So the first thing I would like to actually really encourage everybody, especially if you are upset about something, whether it's frustration or anger or sadness, whether you have anxiety or depression, a gratitude jar honestly is going to help you out. It is just like there's so many little tools we can have to help make our lives better. So you don't have to, but like I used a mason jar. You could use a box. And actually, if you're a really crafty person, you could even decorate it. I didn't even think about that. Like I could have actually decorated, because there are some you can take like dried flowers and Mod Podge them on things, whether you're doing a box or a jar. And then I used Post-its. The one thing about Post-its is like one side is kind of sticky. So it does make them so they there's kind of a little sticky mess. But you can get like papers that are about the size, like just free papers about the size of Post-its, because you don't need like a full sheet of paper. You just need, like a little notepad, and there are the notepads you can get too. And so I'm just going to challenge everybody, like, test this out. Do it for 28 days, because it does take 28 days to create a new habit. And so like if we want to eat healthy, you have to do it consistently for 28 days. Then after that, it actually becomes natural. So same thing with like if you do a gratitude jar. So I'm going to encourage everybody to start a gratitude jar or a gratitude box, or be creative, like make a gratitude whatever to put your like you could even do like a really pretty basket to put them in. And then write one thing you're grateful for every day. And if you have like a day where you're grateful for a lot of things, add extras. It's not going to hurt you to add extras. It really won't. It'll actually make things better. And then at the end of the 28 days, open up your box, your jar, whatever, like your basket, and read all the things you're grateful for. And you'll be like just amazed. And it's okay if you happen to be grateful for the same thing. Like I said, when I started it, almost every day, the first few days, I literally wrote, I'm grateful for my children. So like they didn't realize that the first few days, I literally wrote, I'm grateful for my children. So like they didn't realize that I was grateful. Important to recognize the people we love and like, that's simple as writing their names down. You know, you don't have to like write a whole novel when you are doing a gratitude jar. You can just do something as simple as, you don't even, because you know it's a grateful jar, so you don't need to go, I'm grateful for, but you can. I did, I'm grateful for, and I wrote their name down, but you can just put like name or tree or like your dog. You know, you don't need to like make it super extravagant. It can be simple. So that's my challenge for everybody. And I'll bring it up again at the end. So I'm going to start with some of these questions that I have. So, again, it is open panel, so please feel free if you want to come up on panel to request to join. And if you've missed any of it, I do have a replay on my YouTube and my Patreon, which you can find in my bio. If you go to the bio, there's a thing called bio link. You hit bio link, and then you can just go to Patreon or YouTube, and you can watch replays of any of my lives. So, because I do post those there. So, all right. The first question with gratitude, and this is for personal gratitude. What are simple everyday things you're grateful for that you might easily overlook? So that's a pretty profound question. If you are watching live and you want to share in the chat, please feel free. If you want to jump up and answer, please feel free to request, because it is open panel. And I don't know if I have, I don't see a way to, nope, okay, all right. So still maneuvering around the TikTok. So I'll get it one day. One day I'll be like really proficient with it and be able to make it a little easier. So I think sometimes, like, when we do kind things, the feeling that it gives us when we do something kind for somebody, and to be able to do that, or, the question really is, what are some simple everyday things you're grateful for that you might overlook? You know, well, like, I know in the winter time, because here in Illinois in the winter, it's so gray and gloomy. So when it is a sunny day in the wintertime, I am so grateful for the sun. But you know, I also do like the gray days, because when it's a gray day, it makes you want to like just grab a blanket and a nice cozy book and a cup of tea. And then I'm grateful for that cup of tea and that book and being able to have that free time to just like cuddle and read. And yeah, it's cuddling yourself or cuddling your book, however you want to say it. But I don't know if I love doing that. That's one of my favorite things. It's like, that's self-care. I'm grateful for self-care. There we go. Something that we all probably need to work on is self-care. So self-care can be really important, especially personally. So, all right. The next question I had is, how has practicing gratitude positively impacted your life, either recently or in the past? So, like I said in the beginning, when I was like dealing with the grief process and I was really angry at having suffered a crime, I had a really hard time getting out of the anger, but it was doing gratitude that helped me get out. And it was amazing, the shift in my life that it made. Because I was like, why can't I be happy? And I realized it was because I was really stuck in the trauma and not dealing with it right. And when I was able to practice gratitude, I was able to actually heal from the trauma. Like, I was able to go, oh, now this is what I need to do to heal further. Because like when you're stuck in a certain emotion, especially when you're going through the stages of grief, we can unfortunately get stuck in like the denial stage or the anger stage or the depression stage. And it sometimes can be hard to get out of that. And when we don't get out of that, that's when we're dragged down, and it feels like we've got like that heavy weight on us, right? And practicing gratitude made me feel lighter, and it made me go through the process a lot faster. And maybe faster. I mean, I did go from having that hurt and the grief, and then like going, okay, what was the positive that came out of it? And recognizing that and seeing how important like certain people were in my life, and being able to have, I remember like one thing I was really grateful for was the fact that I had gone to college, you know, and that made a huge impact in my life because I was able to get a really good job. So I think about that and how those things impacted my life. And I know like now I try, sometimes like when you're in the moment, you can't think like when you're going through something and you're like emotionally upset. So whether you're sad or frustrated or angry or whatever your emotion is, but when you are able to like get it, because you gotta go through the emotion, you gotta work through it. But to be able to go, okay, what can I do to get back where I was? Wait, what can I be grateful for with this situation? And as soon as you find what you're grateful for, it's amazing how it just, whoop, like you can go from being sad. I can't even make a frown. I don't know. But it's amazing how that can shift you. So practicing gratitude really did shift my energy, shift my attitude, and it actually made it easier to heal. I also noticed like my chakras weren't as blocked, so it made things a lot easier. So gratitude can do that. Okay, so I wrote down this next question. This is a fun question. What's a skill or talent you're grateful to possess, and how does it serve you? Wow. So, you know, I feel like, well, I think a lot of us have a lot of really wonderful, beautiful talents. So, I would say like one of the things I've always enjoyed doing that I've done for many, many decades is I sew. And I do clothing and I do quilts. And the one thing I love about doing quilts is how I can use my artistic ability to make something beautiful that can warm someone up. And I've done some really, really fun ones. I love doing applique quilts because applique, you can tailor it to the person you're giving it to. I'm going to share just a really beautiful. So my grandmother was very sick. And I had moved out of state. So I wanted her to have a piece of me. But I knew that she wasn't doing well and she was in a hospital. And let's face it, you know what? When you're in a hospital, I mean, I worked in a hospital. I mean, they're clean and they're not colorful. And, you know, it's not that it's not friendly, but it's like sterile, you know, it has to be a sterile environment, you know, and you'll see like they will put pictures and stuff on the wall, but it's not like being home. So I decided, you know, I'm going to make my grandma a quilt. So I used my beautiful talent of quilting, and this was really hard because I can't draw. But I wanted to put her favorite flowers on the quilt, and then her and my grandpa would go fishing and had a cabin. So I wanted to put wildlife like trees, and I had like deer, what kind of looked like deer, and a bear. So I happened at the time, I was actually in a Christian church and they had one of those overhead projectors. So I actually just kind of traced an outline of a bear and an outline of a deer, and the same thing with her favorite flowers. And then I cut them out of fabric and did this beautiful applique quilt for my grandmother. And I just put my heart and soul into it, and it turned out so beautiful. And I melded out, and I called my grandpa, and I just said, hey, it needs to go to grandma at the hospital. I need her to have this with her. And so she did. She had it. She was in the hospital for a very long time, but she had it on her. So because it literally was being wrapped in my love. Sorry, get a little teary-eyed with that. But that is one of my talents that I'm really grateful that I possess, because it's a wonderful outlet for me, like artistically. Even even if sometimes, like, I'm not gonna lie, I can't draw. So sometimes when I'm like, oh, I want a hydrangea on this quilt, I have to be really creative and think outside of the box to make it look good. Because I do love doing applique, but sometimes I'll be like, I want to have this, so I'll just look for fabric with this on it. But I love being able to sew, and my sewing skills that I have to be able to machine quilt and hand quilt. I love that. And I don't even own a quilt that I've made. I've given them all away to other people. So I guess that's kind of fun too. But I love that. That's one of my talents that I'm grateful that I have. So I want you to just kind of think, what is a skill or a talent that you're grateful that you possess, that serves you? And how does it serve you? So I'm going to have to make myself a quilt now that I think about it, or make it for my husband and tell him that it's our quilt. That's what I should do. All right. Okay. So here's another question for those of you. And you know what? Like, you can actually use these questions if you're like a journaler, or if you're like kind of growing in your spiritual practice. Please feel free to add these as questions, especially for if you're like stuck and you're going to do gratitude, like you want to journal about gratitude, or if you're going to do the gratitude jar that I told you about. So think about a challenging experience you've overcome. What did you learn from it? And what are you grateful for in the relation to the experience? I'm going to read that again. Think about a challenging experience you've overcome. What did you learn from it? And what are you grateful for in the relation to that experience? I have to say, a lot of times when I've had a challenging experience, it's made me closer to the people that I love. I can think of a few with my husband that we've been able to bond and become a lot closer. I can think of some with my children, and how I was able to bond and become closer to them. So, and sometimes they're little things, like, I'll never forget, I have a little granddaughter, and she's just adorable. Well, I'm also her grandma, so I'm probably biased, but she was really upset one day. So she got in trouble for, I don't even remember what she got in trouble for. But she was so upset. She said to my son-in-law, she goes, I need to talk to my grandma. And like, at first they were like, well, we got to take care of this situation. But she was so upset. First thing she said to me was, Mommy and Daddy are being mean to me. And I said, oh, honey, talk to me about it. What happened? And she's like, they put me in timeout. And she's crying about being in timeout. And I'm like, okay. And then I went backwards, and I'm like, well, what made them put you in timeout? And I can see my daughter and son-in-law kind of in the back, like, should we have let them call grandma? Like, should we not have let her call grandma? And she ended up, what had happened is my daughter had asked her to pick up her toys. She didn't listen. So my son-in-law said, pick up your toys. And yes, that's what it was. And she got mad and threw a toy. So she didn't want to pick up her toy. And she starts telling me about the situation. And I'm like, well, is your toy room a mess? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, can you walk in it? Because you know how little kids are. Sometimes they pull everything out and you can't walk around their toys because they're all over. She's like, no. And I'm like, so it needs to be picked up. And she's like, yeah. And so we got talking about it, and I'm like, okay. I said, so what do you want to do now? And she was like, I'll pick up my toys. I said, okay. And I said, what else do we do? And she goes, we say sorry. And like, so she turned around, and I can't remember if both my daughter and she ended up giving both my daughter and son-in-law a hug, and she said sorry. And we kind of finished the call, and then I realized at that moment, because every child needs like that sounding board, right? We all need a sounding board. And I realized I was her sounding board. So I was so grateful. I was so grateful that like my daughter and son-in-law were like, okay, well, let her call grandma as a sounding board. And that I was able to walk her through her situation, and she learned her lesson. And she was little. I mean, I hope she learned her lesson because she was little. And let's face it, little ones, because she was little. I mean, she still is pretty little. But I'm grateful that I was the one that she wanted to talk to about the situation, because it made our relationship closer. So that there's an experience that I think is really special. So, all right, next question. And I think this is like super, like, especially like this is literally how my gratitude started out. But who are the people in your life that you feel most grateful for, and why? So I kind of like eased into that experience, the question before. I'm definitely really grateful for my granddaughter. Again, she's really little, but we have like this beautiful relationship, and it's wonderful to have that generational relationship. And of course, I'm very grateful for my husband. So we have a lot of similarities and a lot of differences, which I love, because we can't be exactly the same, or else, oh my goodness, right? It would be not as fun. We need to have like those differences, and we need to have our own personalities, which we do. But I'm very grateful for him, because I don't know who's the better half. He said, oh, she's my better half. I've said, oh, he's my better half. But yes, I'm grateful for him. I'm also really grateful for my children. So, yeah, and I could go on and on, and there's lots of reasons why. So I hope that you're able to come up with a couple people that you're grateful for and reasons why, because that's super important. All right. Again, this is Open Spiritual Panel. I want to thank everybody for the hearts. We've had quite a few hearts tonight. I'd love if you guys could give me a few more so that I can bump up to another league. All my spiritual panels are recorded, so they are on Patreon and YouTube after they are live here on TikTok. It is open panel again tonight, so if you want to come up and answer some of the questions, please feel free to jump up and answer some. And all right, we're going to move on. So, all right, what are some, let's see, my next question. Oh, what are some of your favorite memories or moments that bring you a sense of joy and gratitude? I've actually shared quite a few tonight, so, because they've kind of come with a bunch of other questions. So, it is really important to have those memories and to share them. And I'm not going to bore everybody with all of my memories, but I have shared quite a few. Please write down and share some of yours. So especially if you're on YouTube or on Patreon, please feel free in the comments if you are so inspired to share one. And those watching live, if you're inspired to share one, you can come up again. Just request, I'll let you up. If not, just type it in there. And if you type it in, I'm going to assume you don't want your name read, but I'll read your experience if I see it pop in. All right. So I'm going to move on to the next question though. So how do you actively express gratitude to people you appreciate? Mine is always saying thank you. So, and sometimes I'll be like, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. So, I do say thank you a lot, because my husband has even pointed out, he's like, you say thank you for some of the little things. And I guess like that's kind of what happens when you start practicing gratitude. Because I know a couple other people who practice gratitude, like my mentor, who's in the pagan community. She thanks people constantly. As a matter of fact, like when she's teaching a class, if somebody has a question, she thanks them for their question, answers the question. So she has a lot of gratitude and has been a really great example. So, yeah, I try really hard. And, honestly, I think a lot of times people just want to hear thank you for what they've done. And that's like where it's important. It's like, I really appreciate, especially if I do something small and somebody says thank you. I really appreciate it. It's like, okay, I'm being seen. Like we talk about being heard and like verbalizing what we need and communicating very clearly with others. And, being heard is really important, but being seen is really important. And so sometimes when we do little things, we're not always thanked. Now, sometimes we don't need to be thanked, but it is nice to be thanked. And I think as we start to develop a lifestyle where we show appreciation and gratitude to other people, we attract more people and we start to see that come back to us. So, and we set a really good example as we are saying thank you so much. Like as we say thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for all the hearts tonight, and thank you for all the gifts. Always appreciated and never expected. Same with the hearts. But again, like that gratitude, it goes a long way. What are some ways to show gratitude to mentors or people who inspire you? Wow, I know, like, so one of my teachers, I'm going to throw his name out there because some of them I don't know if they want their name out, but I know that Chris is fine with it. So Chris Allen, he's actually in the pagan community here in Chicago. He has 6 books out. All of them are fabulous, but he is so amazing. I've taken many in-person classes, online classes from him. I own all his books. He has been so absolutely amazing. And one way that I like to show him gratitude is, well, first I purchase his books and I attend his classes. But I always, I haven't read a book of his I didn't like, so I wouldn't leave a negative review. But if like I happen to read something I don't like, I would probably tell him, hey, I just didn't like this, but I wouldn't say it publicly. But everything I've read, I've learned so much from him. So I like to actually share and tell people, hey, if you want to learn more about this particular topic, go to Chris Allen. So Chris Allen has books on psychopomp. He talks about working with the underworld, the upper world, and the other world. Those are actually his first, his first 4 books are regarding those. But I've learned so much, and he has such a beautiful, kind heart. So like for him, showing him gratitude, definitely I have thanked him multiple times, but I like to spread the word that he is an amazing person in the spiritual community. So I think that's like another thing is I like to say, hey, this person is talented. I do that quite frequently, actually. If anybody who has a beautiful talent, I like to show their talent and thank them for it. And I like to share. So let's see. All right. Okay. I'm just looking through my questions. Okay. So, all right, I'm going to get some bigger gratitude questions for you. We'll do a couple more. I was hoping I'd have a couple more people on panel. So I probably will maybe only go live for about an hour tonight, unless my counterpart joins. He might be busy tonight. I don't know. So, okay. So, this is important to me. So, because I am pagan, nature is very important. And most people in the pagan community, we literally, part of our practice is appreciation for nature. So, what aspects of nature or the environment are you grateful for? Wow, where do I start? Right? So, I've always loved trees, but trees are so important to our environment because those tree roots, they kind of do like nice things to the ground underneath. They're also home to many, many different types of insects and living things. Underneath the roots are, but like, if we think about it, like I have like this beautiful big tree in my backyard, and I have a beautiful family of woodpeckers. They have been there for decades. I absolutely love this little family. They're sweet. And the male woodpecker, he is literally the alpha of the tree. So it's really neat to see this big giant tree in my yard, and that the woodpecker is king. So, and when I say king, I mean, he's even king over the squirrel. So, And I am thankful for Naughty. Naughty is my squirrel in this tree, and he is so funny. So I'll be outside like reading on my patio, and the tree kind of hangs over the patio, so it's just a very, very serene, tranquil place. So when I'm out there, I can sit in a nice comfy chair, read a book, and every once in a while something will get thrown on me. And I usually giggle and I look up because I know exactly who it is. It's Naughty. But sometimes he entertains me, and he is like the best entertainment. So I just have to share what he does. So if the neighbor's dog's out, the neighbor's dog's name is Honey. Cute dog. She's very, very sweet dog. But if she's out, Naughty will jump from the tree onto my fence and like squawk at the dog. So Honey will run across the fence, like run by the fence, barking at Naughty, and then Naughty will jump back in the tree. Naughty gets on a branch, runs over, jumps back down, and the dog and the squirrel will do this for hours. And I'm massively entertained by this. So it's just kind of like that relaxing live video, I guess you could say. I need to tape it sometime because it is really funny. I did have a couple times where Naughty would throw something from the tree at me, whether it was like a leaf or a branch, and then he'd jump on the fence. So that's even funny when that happens. But Naughty is entertainment. And I call him Naughty because he's a squirrel. He gets into all sorts of he does all sorts of funny things. But I do feed him, so we do have like that beautiful little relationship. But as we get back to the tree, trees give a home for so much wildlife. And so I love my big tree in the yard. Doesn't matter, wherever I go, I have to have a tree. And trees also clean our air. So it's so important for us to have trees. And then you think about it, our houses have, and even if you have like a brick house or a stucco house, to get the walls up and everything, you have to have studs, which are made out of wood. So when we think about it, trees, I'm very, very grateful for trees because they give so much to us. It's just like the book, The Giving Tree. We couldn't ask for anything better. If you've never read that book, please read it. It's by Shel Silverstein, and it is one of the sweetest books. And it's really, it's a true book. And there's so much gratitude in that book. What a beautiful book for the topic. Oh my gosh, maybe I'll have to read The Giving Tree on a live one time. That would be kind of fun. But that is a really great book, especially when we're talking about gratitude. But as far as other things, aspects of nature and the environment, I love going to national parks, and I think about so many beautiful national parks I've been to and the beautiful wonders that we have. When you think about it, when we think about redwood forest or sequoia, those beautiful, beautiful trees, or Capitol Reef National Park. Wow. Talk about absolute beauty. If you've never been to Capitol Reef National Park, it is in central Utah. Beautiful, beautiful place. Or Arches National Park, which is also in Utah, where you have these amazing natural arches and out of the beautiful red rock. Or Red Rocks, Red Rocks in Nevada. It's outside of Las Vegas. That's a beautiful place, especially if you like to rock climb. Or the Grand Canyon. We have all of these beautiful places we can go. Oh, Niagara Falls. We can't forget about Niagara Falls. Oh my gosh, how stunning. All the Great Lakes combined there and make these amazing waterfalls, right? So just think, there's so many, nature itself, how can we not be grateful that Mother Gaia gave us this beautiful world and this nature, and let's enjoy it, right? Let's just go sit and enjoy it and love every moment of it. So, yep, I'm pretty grateful for nature. So, all right. We'll jump into a couple more questions. So what are some practical ways to cultivate a more grateful mindset? So I actually talked about this at the beginning when I was talking about doing a gratitude jar. So again, I'm going to just hold up my empty mason jar. This one actually had herbs in it, but I started out with a mason jar. I have 2 mason jars because one is totally full. But just writing down on a piece of paper a day and tossing it in what you're grateful for. And then when you're having a hard day, you can look and go, okay, what am I grateful for? What in my life am I grateful for that's really super important to me? And it can be as simple as the bed we sleep in, or like the big beautiful tree in your yard, or maybe the rose bush in your yard, or your significant other, or your children. So ways we can cultivate gratitude, it helps so much. Like for me personally, it helped to write them down. Again, I did a gratitude jar. You could just do it, like you could do it with if you journal, you could add a gratitude a day in your journal. But make sure you go back and look at them, because that's the nice thing, is when you go back and look at it, it helps to cultivate that gratitude, that attitude of gratitude. How can we incorporate gratitude into our daily routines and habits? Think of something you're grateful for every day. I mean, it sounds really simple. I know it's not, but it does take 28 days to create a habit. So there's a challenge for you. Are you going to, I know when I started using daily affirmations, I started actually with a simple one. I love myself. And I put it on a Post-it. So it was in my kitchen, it was in my bathroom, it was in my bedroom. And my kids even were like, oh, because like they had to read it every morning because it was literally on the mirror. It still is on the mirror in my bathroom. That makes a big difference. So it's the same thing with gratitude. You need to, like, even if it's like you write it on a Post-it where you're going to see it, like, I'm grateful for my family. It's something that simple. Or I'm grateful for me. So start small, read it every day, or write like something you're grateful for. So like I said at the beginning, I would challenge everybody to do like a gratitude jar. And again, you can do a box or whatever. And it is fun if you decorate, like, especially if you're a crafty person, you can decorate it. Why not make it fun, right? We don't have to be kids to decorate things. This is like the Valentine's box when we were little to get our Valentines. But we're going to do gratitude, like what we're grateful for. Yeah, just do a jar, grab some, like mine is simple. It was just Post-its, but like I've always thought it would be fun to decorate it. So maybe I'll like decorate one and then take a picture and show you guys. So, but it's just adding it daily. And it's literally going to make that shift in your life to where you will literally have a more thankful attitude, but you're going to be more pleasant to be around. So that's like really helpful. So another question to think about: how does gratitude impact our mental and emotional well-being? You know what? It shifts. Like I've said that a lot. It really transforms your attitude. So, how can I say, like, if you're in a dark place, if you feel like nothing is going in your favor, when you start to find the little things in life that you're grateful for, pretty soon you're going to find bigger things in life, and then you're going to forget about that bill you have to pay or that person that said you were ugly. You'll start to have so much more gratitude, and it literally changes your mindset. It increases your self-esteem. It makes you happier and more joyful. If you've got like if you're dealing with hard things, you heal faster. So gratitude really is something that is amazing. Like when you practice it, you can grow so much from it. So I think it's really important. It also says, can gratitude help us cope with stress, anxiety, or difficult emotions? I'm going to tell you from my personal experience, yes. Because especially like if you're like, oh, does no one like me? You can look at what you're grateful for. And especially if you see, I'm grateful for like my kids, or I'm grateful for my best friend, or you'll be like, wait, okay, there's people that, so when you're having one of those challenging days, gratitude jars are like or if you do it as a gratitude journal, like being able to go, oh, I am grateful for all of this. Look at what I have. That can actually help decrease stress and anxiety and depression. It really is. There are, a lot of people have said that, especially in the spiritual community. And, it's one consistency that actually I saw when I was looking for my spiritual path. I went to a lot of different churches and found a lot of different mentors and teachers that were spiritually connected. And I will tell you that one consistency that everybody had was to have gratitude. And it does make a huge change. So I challenge everybody for that. All right. And the last question I have is, how can we use gratitude to navigate difficult times and challenges? So I kind of shared this already, but when you're in a dark place and you're dealing with like frustration or anger or sadness or like anything in the grief process, when you look at things that you're grateful for, it helps you overcome some of those challenges and obstacles that might be dragging you down. Now, I'm not saying that like your feelings are 100% valid, but sometimes we don't want to be like angry all the time or sad all the time. We don't, right? We don't want to be frustrated all the time. So to be able to say, hey, I'm grateful for this, it can help us navigate. And it actually helps us find the lesson that we're supposed to learn from this situation. And I know that was like a challenge. That's a challenge sometimes, because sometimes it's like there's a lesson to be learned from this. And we have lessons that we can learn constantly every day. It's like there's that adage that you learn something new every day. And sometimes it's a lesson in our life, like maybe to handle a situation differently, or, sometimes we learn like a fact that we didn't know about. And so those are kind of fun when we learn like a known fact. It's like, oh, wow, I learned something new today, right? So it is important for us to learn every day, learn something, but it does help us if we're grateful. We can work our way through a challenge or an obstacle. And not that we have to go, oh, what's the lesson I'm supposed to learn? Because we may not know the lesson right away, but at least if we're grateful. So, like, for example, like if your car doesn't start, right? And okay, well, I'm grateful that this car got me places that I needed to go. Or, I found a mechanic that will actually come to your house if your car doesn't start. Boy, I'm grateful for him, because he can at least help me get that car going so I don't have to call a tow truck, right? So we can find like those little things, and we then start to see how our life becomes a lot easier when we have gratitude. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much. I know I had a lot of people popping in and out. I want to thank everybody so much who joined today. I would have liked to have a couple more people on panel, but it does happen where sometimes that doesn't happen. But thank you so much, everybody. As always, thank you for the hearts, and thank you for those that gave gifts. I'm really appreciative of that. Always appreciated, never expected. And as always, merry meet, merry part, bright blessings, and namaste.